Hi again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alumni Chats, a weekly podcast featuring alumni from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon, and I'm the host of the podcast. Today, I'm talking with Matt Fischer, another graduate with two WIU degrees, one in 2012 and 2015. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Buzz, how are you?
Great. And when I say 2 degrees, you had an undergraduate degree in broadcasting, then you also got a graduate degree in sport management, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was one of the now many who have gone through that route.
Yeah, and one of the ones that have gone through and really helped establish how that pipeline is so beneficial for our undergraduates to consider moving into that. So let's get a life update. Tell us where you are and what you're doing, Matt.
Yeah, I am in beautiful Tampa, Florida. I currently work for United Soccer League, and I'm the senior media coordinator there. So I oversee now what is 47 or so clubs and their production and ensuring that they have all the standards in place and they're meeting all the guidelines and working with them on local media deals, working with our national media partners, stuff like that.
So from the humble beginnings, we're gonna take everyone back to even before you came to WIU. You grew up, or you went to high school in Plainfield High School, which is around Chicago. And
yeah, so it's about, depending on traffic, about a half hour, 45 minutes outside the city. Yeah, the original Plainfield High School. Now there's about 4 different high schools there. But I went to the original one, and if anyone's familiar with the area, it's the one that got torn down by the tornado in '91.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you came to WIU, and my question always, and it seems like the undergraduates are always asking our alums, did you always have an interest in something related to sports growing up?
Absolutely. I mean, probably from about when I was 4 years old, the only thing I can remember is being involved with sports, being around sports, talking about sports. I'd read the sports paper in the mornings. I'd check up on the latest scores, the transactions, and act like I was, the next big Sports Center star. So I've always been around sports, but I didn't know what my career path was for a very long time, probably. In fact, I think the first time I really considered sports broadcasting was I attended my sister's graduation from Western Illinois, and someone along the lines or somewhere on the lines, it was mentioned that there was a broadcasting program, and I knew that was something I was interested in.
Well, that's good for us that you had that connection with your sister that we had you. So you come to WIU, and one of the things I always remember from your time at Western, you were an excellent student, first of all, and just a high achieving, one of those students that did everything that was necessary, and then you went beyond that. Talk a little bit about your time, what you remember from being a student at WIU.
Well, thank you. I swear I didn't pay you for that. No, it's fine. No, what I remember from Western, just a lot of great memories, a lot of great friends. I did the fraternity route for a bit. As you said, I try to do as much as possible. A couple of things that really stick out to me was being involved with the soccer broadcasts. I think that's how I really started to get introduced to the broadcasting program. Was I took a Broadcasting 100 course with Michael Murray, and I saw a sign on Salee Hall that said, soccer broadcast coming up. And I was like, that's my calling. That's my thing. So I emailed you a couple times and seeing how I could get introduced and involved. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, I was calling men's soccer versus IUPUI and had no idea what I was doing.
Right there in the bleachers.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I had no idea what I was doing, to the point where I was standing along the sidelines just with 2 pieces of paper being held up in front of me. It's pretty funny. And looking back, I'm just shocked at what I thought was the right thing to do at the time.
Right.
But yeah, and then after soccer, it was straight into baseball, softball, and capped off my senior year with traveling with the softball team, doing their radio broadcast for the entire year. And some of my best memories were something involved with Western Illinois athletics, and being involved with the broadcasting department. And it's funny you mentioned that. I went a little bit beyond, because I'm still thinking of ways that I could have done more and been more involved in the production truck.
Wow, it's funny because you were, I think you did board opping for WIUS. I think you did so many different things and tried to help out, not just as the star, which I always appreciated, the willingness to be an announcer, but also to help others. If that meant being a board op or scheduling board ops or helping tutor other people along the ways. And you in our sort of our pre-interview, you mentioned something about remembering what it was like to do the very first track meet production. We did the Lee Calhoun track meet for the first time. We weren't sure what we were getting into, and it was an all-day production.
Yeah, all day, and even the day before too. I don't know if you remember that, but we had people out the day before shooting B-roll, and I remember Ryan Thorson and I just planning what we were going to talk about for 8 hours, and it was John Kendall down on the track doing post-match interviews, and it was a hot day. I remember that.
It was like
insanely
80 degrees.
Hot.
Because John got sunburned from being out
despite wearing a suit. I still don't know how he did it. He was wearing a suit the entire time, but he got sunburnt, and I mean, it was probably one of the hotter days that I remember being in Macomb, and we stuck it out for 8 hours.
That's the naive part of me that was willing to do just about anything at least once and give it an opportunity. And what I appreciated is that there were students that were going to be following my path, which was unbelievable. I think we had two different production crews. We had a morning and then an afternoon production crew, but we did not change our announcers. We left you guys talking the entire time.
Ryan and I had our fair share of water and orange juice out there.
What a great time. And then, another thing that sort of you mentioned, which I had forgotten about, is, you did a thesis, I think, that was related to my specialty, which was about minority representation in the media. And you wanted to connect it with sports broadcasting as well. And boy, that was an unbelievable paper. I still remember that.
Yeah, that was, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go the university honors route or the upper level honors. And after some discussion with my family and whatnot, my parents, I decided that, it can't hurt. And it was something that I wanted to fully pursue. And meeting with you, discussing some topics. And I was in the media minorities class at the time, and that's still one of the classes to me that really sticks out. It was an undertaking, and it was probably, when it was done, it's one of those feelings of relief, right? Where a couple months full of work and dedication and meeting with you probably once a week, if not more, finally coming to an end and feeling that sense of pride when it was all said and done.
We should have known that you were destined for graduate school after that experience, because that was very good training for graduate school. Then you left and you were in the Disney program. And I remember talking to you. I remember you came and asked me about the Disney program. And I don't think I was very supportive of that. But you came back to graduate school in the sport management program, and which was just a great, again, a learning experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Disney College program really made me grow up. It was a realization that sometimes dreams aren't always what they plan out to be. It was a great experience. I would probably do it again in a heartbeat, but I maybe would do it a little bit earlier than before my senior year. When Sally Mae and Navient start calling and Disney doesn't quite pay the bills, you have some choices to make. So, but luckily I had a great support staff at Western that was able to give me some great recommendations and allow me to go back to grad school. And that was a tremendous, tremendous experience and started me on the path that I'm on where, I did the athletic communications field, and I was working alongside Ben Winterode, who graduated before me, but I think he was one of the first ones to really start that path. And then Sean Ingracia was there as well.
Yep.
And if you want to really dig in on college athletics, and if you want to know almost all there is to know about programs and student athletes and how much you can push yourself, it's by going into athletic communications and that SID field, because it's a grind day in and day out, but it's incredibly rewarding. The relationships you develop, the stories you gather, the experiences you go through, it's phenomenal.
So tell us how you go through the program and then you got into the field. Tell us about your journey after leaving WIU.
Yeah, so I was actually on the verge of staying on at Western for another year or so. I wasn't able to find a job right away after I graduated, but round about mid-July, I got a call from Florida Gulf Coast University, Dunk City, as you know it from their run in 2012-13.
Yep.
And I went down there, I interviewed, got the job, moved to Fort Myers, which, let me tell you, Fort Myers, Florida in December do not recommend, don't go there. I'm kidding. It's phenomenal. You're wearing a big jacket and it's 50 degrees outside. So it was a tremendous experience there. Look, again, I was able to work with a multitude of sports: volleyball, women's soccer, softball for a couple of years, baseball for a year, men's tennis. And funny enough, the men's tennis coach at FGCU went to Eastern Illinois and was neighbors with one Greg Meddy. I don't know if you remember him, but he was in the athletic communications field there at Western for a while. So insanely small world. I remember the first time I had lunch with CJ Weber, the coach at FGCU. We were talking and he was like, "I'm from Teutopolis, Illinois." It's like, I have no idea where that is. And sure enough, Greg Meddy is like his next door neighbor from back home. So it was a pretty crazy world, but met a lot of great people in Fort Myers. And one of those people was a fellow SID from Florida International. And he would come over and we'd sit in the press box during softball and, we'd just talk about random things, and found out that I was a big soccer fan. And turns out that the main production arm for USL is based in Fort Lauderdale. And he knew some people who worked at this company called Vista World Link. And a couple months later, I'm at Vista and I'm seeing the inner workings there and them producing, I think it was like 6 or 7 games that night from all across the United States. I sat in on him producing the RGV game, Rio Grande Valley. And short time later, I have an interview with a gentleman by the name of Brad Baker at USL, who's now with Nashville, who used to work for Nashville SC. So Ryan Rose, who is still a producer at Vista World Link, put me in touch with USL, and now here I am, almost 2.5, 3 years later. So
for those that don't know, the United Soccer League is a professional soccer league, right, Matt? And so they are connected with maybe some of the football clubs that you will see around the nation. And so is it sort of like the minor leagues? Can you explain or connect it for me?
Yeah, soccer is very, very strange in how it's set up, but it's set up like a pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid, you have Major League Soccer. And then beneath that is kind of where USL fits in a couple different ways. So recently, as of 2 years ago, we expanded to create USL League One, and we rebranded. So USL, United Soccer League, became USL Championship.
Yep.
And then we added League One. And then below that even is League Two, Academy, and Super Y. So League Two is that second tier in the pyramid. I'm sorry, championships, that second tier in the pyramid. And then League One is that third tier. And then we have some pre-professional programs, as I mentioned as well, Academy and League Two. So in short, it's not minor league. It's just lower in the pyramid, but still professional at those levels and still making a big impact in the CONCACAF region, if you're familiar with international soccer and all that. So it's ever growing, and it's a very exciting time to be part of it, because we still have markets that are calling us every day wanting to get involved, and new stadiums being built, and it's incredible to see the growth in just the 3 years that I've been there.
I'm sure that along the way you've had some interesting experiences, either getting to know or see and meet current players, or also other soccer players that may be retired. Can you share a little bit about sort of, for those that are soccer fans, some of the people you've got to meet?
Yeah, I think maybe one of the coolest experiences that I've been able to go through was the 2018 USL Championship final. It was between Phoenix and Louisville, and it was, if you're familiar with the English game, Didier Drogba is now co-owner. He was a player for Phoenix Rising. So we get there, and there's rumors about, is he coming back? Is he going to retire? And I think just before that, he had decided that he was going to retire at the end of the, and we pull him aside for a pregame interview, and it ended up being his last game. So it's kind of not a claim to fame, but one of those things that you just mentally mark. Like, I saw his last game as a professional, like this guy who's won everything, a hero in his home country, the Ivory Coast, and you name it, he probably has a trophy for it. And I saw his last game.
That's awesome. Soccer. My own son played soccer in high school, and certainly we, in our tours around the Midwest, saw how important it was, and growing, I think, especially as a sport, because I think, unfortunately, for people that are fans of football, the risk involved in injury for youth, but certainly you see it growing exponentially across the United States, and it's probably not at the level of right now of being in Europe, but certainly, it's got the opportunity, as you said, for growth across many of the U.S. cities, right?
Oh, absolutely. If it's not clubs calling, or potential owners calling at the championship level, it's League One and Academy and Super Y and League Two. Every day our expansion team is insanely busy trying to get new clubs on board, and if it's not that, like I said, it's the stadiums, and it's the energy and the media deals that are coming out of it. And it's a really cool experience to be a part of, and something I don't know if I ever thought I would be a part of. I always tell myself occasionally, like, 18-year-old me would be insanely proud of where I'm at today, because I'm working in a game that I love and grew up playing, but I wasn't good enough to play beyond like 16. So, right. 18-year-old me would be very, very happy with where I'm at, but I never really thought that I would be in this position where I'm learning so much every day, but also experiencing so much. Just a couple of years ago, we went through our media rights negotiation, and that was an eye-opening experience as well. Just seeing the process start to finish, and what all it entails, and the different departments and the different things that go into it. And even something as not simple, but as commonplace as a graphics package, and everything that goes into designing a graphics package and implementing that and making sure that it stays consistent throughout 47 clubs is a challenge in and of itself. And that's one of the things I'm tasked with day to day. But in fact, I just wrote an email earlier to a club and explaining the differences between what their package looks like and how it was built to run. So the little small intricacies and the little small things that go into it are, again, not sure I would think that I'd be involved with it, but I'm very happy that I am.
Right. And, one of the things I told our students in preparing for this, I said, telling about your role is that, for a lot of people, you probably didn't grow up thinking this is the job I'm going to have. And yet this is a job that's out there, and how important it is to the operation of a professional league like the USL for somebody like you, which I'm sure your job continues to evolve,
Mm-hmm.
even because of COVID and everything else that's been happening.
Yeah, I mean, USL's in a pretty unique position where about half of our games across Championship and League One are done remotely anyway. As I was saying, my first experience with it was sitting in Fort Lauderdale and watching a game being produced that was being played in RGV, Rio Grande Valley. So, on a normal Saturday night, we're producing games from Phoenix to San Diego to Hartford to Miami, that range of cities, and that's all coming out of Fort Lauderdale. And then we have some clubs that are producing it in their own backyard, whether it be because they're owned by a minor league baseball team or because they have a partnership already in place. So COVID, though, has changed things tremendously, as you know. We're now looking at, do we have everything go remote? Do we have broadcasters go remote? Again, we're fortunate enough that we've already had that in place, but as this world continues to change, now it's keeping up with the trends and where are the trends going, and how can we get there first?
Yeah, that's interesting to see how that's going to evolve if things get back to some sort of normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
Part of your journey, which we've kind of found out, is that how important it is to have connections and network. And certainly, I think that you would advise young people that are in our program to make those kind of connections at any time you can, right?
100%. I think it's always said, but I don't know if it ever really sinks in, especially for college kids. I know it didn't for me, to be honest. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think it's incredibly important to really focus in on establishing relationships and talking to your professors and talking to people you interact with. Your classmates are soon going to be the people you call for a sponsorship deal. They're soon going to be the people that you're working alongside day in and day out. And you need that relationship in place. I remember sitting in Roger Sadler's office, eating his pretzels like they were my own. But I'd just sit in there for a half hour after class and just talk to him and see how the day's going and make fun of his Donald Duck tie. And that's what we did. But, his sport law class, I still have his book sitting in my desk, and I reference it probably once a month, if not more, going over copyright law and how to protect ourselves from copyright infringement, whether it be for music or anything else. These relationships, and I think I've emailed him too, just to see and pick his brain on some things. But these relationships are so valuable, and it could be the difference between you landing a job and you being unemployed for another month.
So we sometimes like to think that we're in charge of, and we know exactly where our future is headed, but we're always surprised by that. What kind of challenges do you still want to do, Matt? You're a young man, you've got your life right ahead of you, but what other kind of challenges are you looking forward to doing?
Honestly, I'm pretty happy here at USL. I want to continue to grow and develop here, but the more I get into the business side, the more it intrigues me. Production, while it wasn't my area of concentration, if you will, when I was at Western, was definitely something that piqued my interest. But the more I get into the business side, it's an ever evolving world, and it's one that you meet so many people and you develop relationships that way. And that would probably be my next challenge, is just continuing to evolve in the business side of things. And even something as simple as developing budgets. I mean, headache after headache, but it's really rewarding. That's now my new thesis. it's developing budgets. Like, again,
I have
never
no
thought I'd
doubt
be doing it.
that there is not one obstacle you cannot overcome, Matt, obviously. So I always like to end talking a little bit about some of the recommendations that you might have for our students. Everything from, reflecting, and I only say that because I know you took advantage of a lot of things, and you were a great student and everything, but what kind of recommendations might you have for a student that's interested in working in a similar type of field?
I think it starts with having a diverse background, and getting as much experience as you can in as many aspects as you can. Consolidating the broadcast and journalism programs. When I was there, there were two different ones. So I was actually a journalism minor. But your writing skills will take you far. Your math skills while you'll hate it, they'll take you far.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, it's even now calculating percent change, year over year growth. That's stuff that you're going to use. You won't have to solve for X all the time, but you're going to have to solve for some different problems, and those formulas are going to be the backbone of that. But as far as broadcast related, go in the truck, ask questions, learn from your professors as much as you can, and never take an opportunity for granted. I think what really set me on my path was just that first email to you and asking if I can get involved in soccer. That set me on my way, I think. And don't be afraid to send that first email is probably my best piece of advice. And, connecting with somebody on LinkedIn and then messaging them, right? Just the simple stuff that kind of goes overlooked, but that can set you apart when it comes time.
That's some great recommendations. And I forgot that you had mentioned that you were also a journalism minor, because I think one of the things you had mentioned is that you had a class. Was it Bill Knight that you had a class with?
Yeah.
It
was Bill Knight. It was
before we go.
It was his last semester teaching. It was probably one of my favorite classes. It was liberal arts in the national pastime, and we read books on baseball. We listened to songs about baseball and watched movies about baseball, and it was all during the time that I was traveling for softball too. So everything just kind of went hand in hand, and we ended up going to a baseball game and learned how to score a game. And it was maybe the most senior class I could take my senior year.
That's excellent. I did not know he did that. Boy, that was cool.
Yeah, it was a very, very fun class. But I think my last piece of advice, sorry, I don't want to go back, but last piece of advice would just be to have fun while you're doing it. These are memories and opportunities that you will never get back. And if you're not having fun, then what's the point?
Yeah, you're right. And everything that I think that we did, which was a lot of work at different times over the years, but the people, the relationships, the names that you had mentioned, Ben and Sean and Ryan, and boy, we could just go on and on about all those people that pulled together to do sports broadcasting. It's been a glorious time here.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're being honest, Buzz, it's really all thanks to you. You orchestrated that program. I mean, when I was there, it was just broadcasting, and then I think you had asked for some advice on what classes and all that. But you were the brainchild behind sports broadcasting as it is today.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's always about I couldn't have done it without Tom Durso for a long period of time, and of course then John Hitchcock came along, and Sean, and we could just go on and on about all the terrific people that have been pulling up and doing a great job with that program. Matt, I've just really enjoyed this time to catch up with you. We could probably continue on, and we probably will afterwards. But I really want to thank you for your time and just and just say, we're proud of you. We're glad to have you as a WIU alum. And, at any time you can make it back from the warm weather of Florida and you want to come back to the WIU campus, we'd love to see you again.
It's in the plans, Buzz. I promise you that. I would love to get back to Macomb someday. And thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us again for this episode of Alumni Chats. Remember to join us again next week when we have an opportunity to talk with another alum from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism here at Western Illinois. Until then, stay safe, take care, and God bless.